You're not lonely. You're just standing in a place that those who are still performing simply can't enter. Pause for a second. If you're still watching this, it means you felt it. That feeling of being out of place inside your own crowd. No one hurt you. Nothing obvious happened. But inside, something went quiet. You still talk, but it doesn't feel real. You still smile, but it doesn't feel light. You still show up, but you know you're not really there anymore. And the strangest part is everything still looks normal. I know that feeling, not because I read it somewhere, but because I lived it. There was a time I was surrounded by people, but no one truly reached me. I said the right things. I did the right things. I showed up the right way. But inside, nothing was real. And the most dangerous part was, no one noticed. Not even me. Until one day, I couldn't continue anymore. Not because I was strong, but because I couldn't stand becoming someone else. Just to stay. And when I stopped, everything shifted. No drama, no noise, just people slowly disappeared. Fewer messages, fewer invitations, no one said anything. But I knew I didn't belong there anymore. Here's the part no one tells you. When you become more real, you become more alone. Not because something is wrong with you, but because most connections aren't built on truth. They are held together by comfort, by unspoken agreements, to not go too deep, to not say too much, to not feel too much. But you don't do that anymore. You stay quiet when nothing feels real to say. You step away when you feel yourself performing. You stop trying to fit into places that were never yours. And what you're left with is space. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear, just you, with nothing left to hide behind. And you start wondering, am I doing something wrong? Am I pushing people away? No, you're just finally standing where you actually belong. Before, you had people, but you had to adjust, shrink, hold parts of yourself back. Now, you don't, and because of that, fewer people stay. That's not loss, that's clarity. You didn't lose people, you lost connections. That only worked when you weren't being yourself.
yourself. And this space, it doesn't feel comfortable, but it's real. And here, you begin to hear yourself again. Not the noise, not expectations, not walls, just you. A version of you that doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't need to fit in, doesn't need to be understood by everyone. And slowly, things begin to shift. Not fast, but true. You don't go back. You don't become easier to accept. You don't force yourself to belong. You stay. Just stay. Because this place, even though it's quiet, is the first place you actually exist. And then something subtle happens. Not many people, not suddenly, but the right ones. They don't need you to perform. They don't need you to explain yourself. They don't need you to be different. And for the first time, you don't feel distant anymore, even in silence. That's when you realize you were never lonely. You were just out of place for the one. If you see yourself in this, don't run anymore. Oh yeah, HTTPS://